Let's now talk a little bit about the materials as we talk today in 2022 about ArcGIS. Most of the projects are made using Corona type materials, V-Ray, F-Store, but the Unreal Engine has its own material format. So we need to prepare these materials to take to the Unreal Engine, basically converting all of them to standard. By default, the Unreal Engine doesn't understand the materials of, for example, um, V-Ray, uh, Corona, F-Storm. It doesn't understand these type of materials. It does understand the materials of standard. Okay, so you ask me, gosh, Dennis, I have all my project done in Corona or Subway. Will I have to transform each material into standard? The answer is yes and no. Yes, if you want the best, lighter, optimized result, a project that you can change materials, and no, if you want a faster project that doesn't have as many things, but with a very big burden of maybe not getting the same result as you would get with the Corona inside Unreal, okay? Because the way to make the materials in Corona and in Unreal are different. There are even plugins that make this synchronization. For example, it takes your file from Max and sends it straight to Unreal. And within this conversion process, it transforms Corona materials into standard. But it has a very big burden on this, okay? Because it adds a lot of loads to these materials. And this is inefficient. This is bad and makes it very difficult for you to get the realistic results within the Unreal. For now, it seems like a very complicated job. You redo the materials that are really realistic and refined in Corona and have to redo them inside the Unreal Engine. It seems like unnecessary work. At first glance, yes. Gosh, I'll have to make all the materials. But as time goes on, you will create your library of materials, okay? And since in Unreal Engine everything is done in a real time, you simply take this material and drag it to the object, and that's it. It's already realistic and interactive, and most importantly, optimized and created in the right way. I'll try to teach you in the course the correct way to do things within Unreal, the correct and most efficient way that gives you the least amount of work possible, and oddly enough, the correct way that gives you the least amount of work possible is by transforming your program materials into standard. For example, if you know that you're going to create an animation in your next project in Unreal, then you don't need to create Corona type materials. Leave it to create the materials inside Unreal. We might think that 3ds Studio Max is a modeling program and Corona is a rendering plugin. So basically, we have 4 work steps inside 3ds Max, where the first step is modeling that you do with the 3ds Max, and the other 3 steps you don't do inside the 3ds Max, but you do it in Corona. We can think that it is another program. You create materials, you light and render in Corona. You don't do it in Max. You don't do it in the scanline. You do it in Corona materials or V-Ray materials. So if you think of the 4 steps, one is the Max, we can think that using the Unreal Engine, we will have 4 steps as well. But instead of Corona, we will use the Unreal Engine. So we will model in Max, which is one of the steps. We'll create the material in the Unreal Engine, we will light in the Unreal Engine, and in quotes, we will render in the Unreal Engine, okay? As time passes and you create your projects, your library will increase, okay? The effort is going to be lower, and you will just set it to max and take it to Unreal and finish it there. The process is going to be faster, easier, and as optimized as your projects are today using Corona, okay? Obviously, as a new information, it's difficult at first. Adaptation is complicated, we cannot associate very well, find logic in things, but don't worry about it, don't worry. As you do it slowly, you will get better, your skill will increase, and your work will be much faster, okay? Just by modeling on Max and doing everything else on Unreal Engine, okay? So look at this, let's think. I will show you how we convert the materials and transform them and adjust them in our project to work with standard type materials, which is the material that the Unreal Engine understands, okay? Cool, let's talk about this first. Then I'll show you here the plugin that does this conversion automatically. But it's a little dangerous to use this plugin because it loses a lot of textures and a lot of maps. And there are other ways to take the project from Corona to Unreal Engine. We call it Datasmith. But I'm not going to talk about it yet, so you can learn the hard way in the right way, okay?